Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Sheets. I'm going to be going over the MLB slate for this evening, and Bobby's going to be joining us in a few moments. Hope all of you had a good, uh, I don't know if you call it this, but a good All-Star break. That's what you say. Nonetheless, hasn't been any baseball for the last 4 or 5 days, and we actually finished off the pre-All-Star break slate with a nice win. We never had a chance to talk about that, but not much to talk about anymore because we're on to the next one. We have MMA this weekend. We already did one video. We're going to be doing the lineup construction video today, actually. I don't think I'm going to wait till tomorrow. I have all my sims already done already, so I'm going to talk about that. I'm also going to do a betting breakdown. Be on the lookout for all of Brandon Cruz's NASCAR videos and live streams or whatever. That's going to be coming up shortly. We'll wait for Bobby to get in here. And then we can just get started, I guess. Share my screen, I suppose. Get that going. Let me just see where this is being streamed. It's being streamed to my Twitch and to TrueDFS YouTube. Hey, what's up, Bobby?
Hey, what's up, man?
All right, I don't see if anybody's here though.
Yeah, maybe it usually takes like about a few minutes for it to show up if people are there.
Oh, I see. Okay. So I basically just did kind of a summary of what's coming up this week and this weekend. I didn't watch the All-Star game at all or the Home Run Derby or anything like that. Just had a chance
I wouldn't have, except for I was with my family, and I don't know, man. I caught the Shohei bug a little bit, so I kind of have to watch him do everything he does because he's just better than everybody ever. So it was fun to see him hit a home run in the All-Star game.
Oh, he did? I have no idea. Who won the game?
The American League won, but I loved the over. The over hit really early, but there was no more scoring after that as usual.
Is that a thing, by the way? Like the winner gets the home field or anything like that, or is that not a thing anymore?
To be what's crazy is, to be honest with you, I watched the game. I watched the Home Run Derby because we had Teoscar in it, and like my family loves him. So I have no idea.
Oh, I don't know the rules. That's why I was asking.
No, I genuinely don't know the answer. And I'm embarrassed a little bit that I feel like I should know the answer, but I just don't happen to. I've been very locked in. I haven't slept in 2 days, which I need to probably get on later today. But I watched like every moment of all the golf, which is the positive thing, which is also the negative thing, because man, I'm telling you, I wrote to Kenny when it was like a 1%. I think it was like 0.8% to be +6. And I said, it's going to be +6.
It's going to be like +13 in like 5 minutes. I mean, this is like ridiculous.
Exactly. It's a joke, right?
Well, apparently some people are doing well, just none of my people. It's like
well, the only guy in the afternoon, because it was all waves, and that's why I stacked groups, which I did end up doing. Unfortunately, I fell in love with the other group, and they thought the weather would potentially go the other way because there might be a delay. So they might end up playing on this afternoon. That's what was, a possibility. So I went with that. And I ended up playing a bunch of the guys with the bad groups, like the Fleetwoods and not that they're terrible, Rom. They're still in it.
Fleetwood's like the nuts at +5. Are you kidding me?
No, I also like he's the kind of guy who, like, you give him, I don't even look at him with weather. Like, I just can ignore him and just pay attention to everybody else because he can shoot par or -1, where other guys are going to be shooting +7.
I'm honestly a little concerned that I didn't start this thing right, because usually we have somebody here at this point. Nonetheless, we're definitely
also there's a new thing he added, I think, that doesn't show the people, because I noticed that for myself sometimes when I started the shows.
Well, I see. Well, if anybody has any questions, feel free to pop it in there. The one bet which I made, and I don't know if you saw this, I made a bet, and it's one of those things where I just know it's a sucker bet because all prop bets in golf are sucker bets, I think. But I just couldn't help myself. So I bet John Rahm minus 160 to be the top performing Spaniard in the field. I was looking at the I had literally never heard of anybody.
So it's Campillo.
Yeah. So there were 5 guys that had to beat. 3 of them didn't make the cut, and 2 of them are in at +6. So I got to worry about 2 guys. But I'll beat those guys whoever they are.
That's a pretty great bet.
I thought so, right?
I actually like Campillo. Like it's weird. I played Campillo in Showdown today. He's 0.5% owned. He had the best round of the day, best scoring of the day.
He snuck into the cut just to give me a pain in the neck.
And I'm still not even cashing. Like I'm not even making money with that. You know what I mean? I was in first place for a while, and then it just faded away because I ended up. I took one shot on Rory, like in so many. Well, not
Rory's doing great, huh?
Well, I mean, no, but so I had to take like one afternoon guy just to get a little bit off the board with just I thought maybe I was overwhelming the morning thing too much, but there was no way to overwhelm it too much, man. Tell you what, like this has been, it's like a completely different course than it was when I was watching it at 10 p.m. my time to start. It looked so gettable. It was 8 miles an hour of wind. It was damp, and these guys were just gunning for everything. Everybody's making birdies all over the place, and then you see what happens when they get to the back 9 because the wind starts blowing against them, and then all of a sudden the guys who start teeing off while they're like on 16, 17, 18, they just have no hope. I mean, you have to be one of these guys. You have to be like a Shane Lowry or a Tyrrell Hatton or a Tommy Fleetwood or just awesome and just be the best player because I think Scotty Scheffler's probably going to win this tournament. Like, what do you think the odds should be on him, Sheets? Like, what is it?
They're giving you some terrible price, like +400 or something like that.
But I think that's probably about what it is.
I guess
5 shots in this tournament is like 1 hole. Like,
yeah, but remember when you have the lead, you can play to keep the. You know what I mean? Like it's not like they're starting at the beginning. Like if they start at the beginning. And you gave me 4-1 on Scheffler for, let's just say it was just 2 guys. Mm-hmm. I would say that, okay, if I bet you Scheffler, you give me odds to beat, Lowry by 5 strokes, I would probably take it, but it's not like that. It's like, because Lowry can protect, and this is a course where, if you get too aggressive, you're just going to get.
I don't think there's such thing as protecting on this course because there's too many unplayables that are near the fairways. So like, if you just hit it a little bit off, you're already trying to play for double bogey.
Speaking of which, Tyrrell Hatton going for a birdie. I've never seen anything like this in my life. Oh,
this is what I'm saying. These are the guys who play on these courses.
Almost made one.
Has anybody made a birdie? What's the last birdie that was made? Justin Rose, another one of those guys. You know what I mean? I'm just like, why didn't I just play those? Like just the guys who like just go completely with the narratives and go just the guys who play these kind of courses.
Oh my God! And Rahm throws one right into the freaking crowd. I just need him to make the cut. So that then I'll take my chance of beating those turkeys. But he's got to get through these last 10 holes somehow.
Yeah, it's tough right now.
But the good thing is, it's good if Rahm, if things don't go his way, he's very, very cool, calm, and collected, and he won't let it get to him.
To be honest, I actually think he's playing great right now.
He is doing great, but all he needs is one freaking double to go to +5, and the next thing you know, it'll be +11. It's like so Finau from 20 for double bogey does not make it, so he's now at +5.
I wrote, and people were making fun of that. I thought there was a chance for +7. It's not going to hit, but it was definitely a possibility at one point.
You see what Neiman did?
Yeah, he was the only one who's shooting under par, and then he quintupled, and he's still in the mix.
-1, and he made an 8 on a par 3.
Right, and he's in the mix. He just birdied, and now he's +3 overall. Like that's not impossible. It's 2 days left to play.
Yeah.
It's just really crazy how much of an advantage the early guys have.
Well, I would like, by the way, Brandon to change the interface so I can see how many people are here.
Yeah, so I'll figure it out. Maybe it's something that it's some setting or something. I'll figure it out.
Or maybe just nobody wants to hear us anymore. Maybe everybody's.
I don't know. Well, we're not talking baseball. We could talk some baseball.
No, I'm going to. I have the whole slate ready to go. I mean, like,
all right, let's do it.
All right, let me share my screen here, and we'll just kind of get going here. So no weather issues. Imagine what do you think if they played a game in like at the where the U.S. Open where the Open Championship is right now?
I don't even know.
What if we had Wrigley? We had like what if we had wind blowing out at 40 miles an hour? Like,
yeah. It's like a combination between Wrigley and San Francisco or something.
All right, so right off the bat, okay, Yankees against Tampa, and you have Garrett Cole, and we talked about him leading into the break, and I didn't play him in his few starts coming back because I didn't think they would, pitch him too much. But I'll tell you, man, in his last outing before went full go, 106 pitches, and now he's home against Tampa, and I think he's a tremendous play. This is exactly what you kind of want. He's coming off the injured list, but he's ready to go. He's ready to make his run in the second half. If the Yankees make their run, Tampa's kind of weak. And I think he's a really, really good play. I don't like Eflin too much on the other side. And then the Yankees, they always look pretty decent, but I'm not really getting to them. I'm kind of going a different route this time. The one thing I will mention, again, it's different because I think it's a different GM. I think it's a different bunch of players or whatever it is. But Tampa used to be able to get to Cole somehow, even when Cole was like unhittable. Like, and this is going back a couple of years or whatever. Remember all those years where freaking G-Man Choi would just like torch like Cole? And so I don't know if Tampa still has kind of the notes on him or whatever it is. So if you did want to throw in a Tampa stack just for funsies, I wouldn't be against it. As a matter of fact, when I ran my first bunch of sims, I was getting a little bit of that, and that was more just because Cole's going to look like such a great play that you're going to want to get some leverage. So I'm not too opposed to that, but I think Cole overall is. I mean, I have to think he's the best play on the slate. No.
Yeah, they have a 30. Like the guys who are playing tonight they faced him almost 200 times with like a 34% strikeout rate, hitting 200 basically against him with a 260 on base percentage and 320 slugging. Like he's faced them. They know him. There's arguments to be made for other pitchers, but it feels like a spot where Garrett Cole in many situations could be 10-5 and 60% owned, and it would be totally okay. And he's going to end up in higher buy-ins, much higher owned than he's being projected. And that's one thing that should tell you that it probably is a good play. I would also say that if you are playing 150, I think you should play 5%, maybe a little bit higher of Zach Eflin. I think he's better than a $7,500 pitcher, and the total will tell you that. I don't think I'm going to do it myself. I don't think that's going to happen, but if you're playing 150, I would include him. I don't think I'm going to get to any of the hitting in this game. I think you could make a large field argument for the Yankees, but I like the idea of taking the Eflin shot more than I do the Yankee shot today, personally.
Okay, moving on. Detroit against Toronto, as Tom Kim is going for 15 feet for double bogey to keep it at +9. Let's see if he can make this and keep it at +9. Yes, got it. +9. All right. So Jack Flaherty at Toronto, no thanks at 9,500. Chris Bassett is as usual a very reasonable pivot. And I was kind of surprised he's not even higher owned here. I mean, it is against Detroit. He is a very moderately priced pitcher here at 8,100. I actually do like him. With respect to the hitting, I don't really get too much of either of these guys. What do you like here, if anything?
Well, you're speaking my language because My first thought was, and by the way, Detroit's been kind of hot, but I genuinely could care less. I think Chris Bassett and Garrett Cole is the easiest way to start a lineup ever. That I actually thought, like when I was looking at the slate and I didn't know if I'd be able to make it on, I thought, okay, I'm going to play Chris Bassett and Garrett Cole. That's it. I know what I'm going to do. So that was my first thought. So I obviously love Bassett. I have no issue if you want to take a shot with Flaherty. I wouldn't get to him personally.
Yeah. Yeah. When I looked at the slate, I had without looking at projections, I had a different pairing, and we'll get to that in a second. But definitely Cole was one of them, and I had Bassett was definitely one of my top 5. That was for sure. All right, so San Diego against Cleveland. Here's one where I definitely have some interest. So Tanner Beebe at 8,700. Again, before I looked at projections or whatever it is, it just seemed to make a little bit of sense to me. I've not been a big, Padre guy at all this year, honestly. And Beebe, he could throw some heat sometimes, So I think that he's pretty reasonable. The only reason I didn't get to him eventually is because when I started to build lineups, it was actually tough to get what I wanted playing both Cole and Beebe. And it's usually you should be able to because it's not like they're that expensive, right? But for whatever reason, I needed to get to save a little money, so I ended up not doing it. But in my shell, but I definitely do like Beebe a little bit here. So for me, it's Beebe and really nothing else in this game at all. Like none of the hitting and no Waldron.
Yeah, I personally don't love Beebe in this matchup, but like I like him in general. I just don't like him today. I think San Diego's a little bit tougher maybe than they get credit for. It's a fairly cool night in Cleveland, so maybe that's worth it. But even his strikeout prop is right around 5. It just feels I'm trusting a little bit of Vegas with this, so I just feel like I don't know. It just for me, I'll pass. I'd rather take the shot with Chris Bassett.
So this next one is one of the places to save money, and that is the 2024, or basically the 2024 is the year of Sean Manaea, I guess. He's just come into his own as far as being a DFS play, partially because he does seem to kind of walk through the raindrops with respect to his matchups. He does seem to kind of always get put in a position where you kind of want to play him. But his last one, he was, 7 full innings and 107 pitches, went at chalk. It's very convenient. You know what I mean? Like it's nice that when you play the chalk Manaea and they actually let him go for 107 freaking pitches to get there. And I think that he's a very good play here as well. I mean, Miami's not, not Colorado, but they're not, the 27 Yankees either, So I think Manaea is very reasonable. I actually thought he'd be a little higher owned here on the slate. So I actually do like him. So Manaea, Cabrera sort of, as some of the people like to say, kind of hurt my feelings. I played him I think his last start, he just got rocked by Cincinnati. So I don't know. He's gonna have to show me a little something before I play him again. So for me, it's gonna be Manaea, and that's probably it.
Yeah, I think again, if I was playing 150, I would definitely get to at least 10% of Cabrera. I think he's like a really interesting play. His strikeout prop is higher than Manaea's, for example. Manaea is the obvious one I thought was going to be higher owned, and I actually would reconsider a little bit of my Chris Bassett love just because he's not higher than I thought he'd be owned. I thought he'd be like 35%, and doesn't seem like that's the way it's going. It's a good matchup. I would definitely play some Manaea. I still like the Bassett Cole pairing, but I think Manaea would be my next guy of the guys we've talked about, and Cabrera definitely for large field.
Okay, St. Louis, Atlanta. If you run some sims and you run some builds, you're going to get to some St. Louis today. And I could see that. I mean, you haven't really come to that many great bits of hitting yet. Hold on, Rom is hitting his third from like 70 yards away. Oh, what an amazing shot! Are you kidding me? Oh my God, Rom holdout from 75 from the
Oh,
fescue.
really?
From the fescue.
Let's go, Rom.
With a bad stance. Literally, it was like a Dustin Johnson from the Open, like the Sheets one. It was like impossible. I would have taken a bogey on this hole. Wow, that's crazy. Okay,
That's awesome.
that put me well ahead in expectation in my bet.
For sure.
When you see this, you're not going to believe it. This is an amazing shot.
That's awesome. I'm happy to hear it.
Okay. Anyway, so you'll get some St. Louis, and I think it makes some sense. I mean, you haven't really gotten too many great hitting environments, and Schwellenbach is not the greatest. So yeah, I can see that. Sonny Gray is showing up as kind of a secondary play. I'm not doing that. I mean, I don't know. I know Atlanta hasn't been great this year, but I'm not playing Sonny Gray in Atlanta at 9,200. I'm looking at his ownership at 8%, though. It's a little tempting, but I don't. I'm gonna have to play some of it, right? And now that I'm looking at it, it depends how many lineups you play. I suppose if I'm playing my 50 lineups and I get to 10% of him, I'm not going to complain. I suppose, but I certainly wouldn't want to prioritize him.
Yeah, I think I'm on the same page as you. For me, this game feels like a stay away. I'm tired of. We've talked more about St. Louis as a team that literally has like never come through.
Not in a while though. And I'm like the big.
You got them a couple of the right days when that was when Mason Wynn was 2K,
Right.
Like it was just and now it's not like they're still super cheap with Goldschmidt and you see those names and it sounds great, but like these guys just, just for me, it just feels like a pass. I don't know.
Right.
It's a big slate. There's other spots I'd rather go after.
All right. So Baltimore, Texas, it's I guess I still don't have a name for this spot, but just the idea that both pitchers are pretty good, but both sets of bats are pretty good too. And I just feel as though I just want to just hope it all crosses itself out. Listen, if I had to pick one of the four prongs from this game, it would probably be the Burns pitching side. And then maybe next would be the Baltimore hitting side, I guess. But I think overall, I'm probably not going to get to too much of this game.
Yeah, I would say 5 to 10% in 150 of Baltimore stacks, and I would leave it at that. I don't have a lot of interest in anything else here. I love Burns as a pitcher. I think he's actually like become really underrated in a weird way. He did start the All-Star game, so I guess he's not that underrated, but like by people who are in DFS. But I just don't think there's any reason to do it tonight. I like the other guys better.
So now we get to some hitting in back to back here. You have Chicago at Kansas City, and Kansas City is going to look like like a pretty good play here against Flexen. Bobby Witt, Salvador Perez, Pascantino. I mean, like pretty much everybody. I don't know what it looks like their ownership is. I have them right now. I guess it's the highest on the slate, alongside of a couple of others. Actually, we'll get to a couple in a second. But I definitely have Kansas City as at least the chalkiest non-Coors option. Maybe we'll get to another one. But yeah, I think that's totally reasonable. I'm not going to play Waka against the White Sox. Someone else can do that. I'm when I was building a lineup and I looked for cheapos, I don't know. I kind of was interested in the White Sox a little bit against Waka. Just something else to do. Kansas City, that part can give up runs to the gaps. So I don't know. I don't mind a couple of the cheap White Sox guys like Sheets and even Benintendi's not the worst in the world, I suppose. But that's pretty much all I got. Kansas City, chalky, but probably a pretty good play.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm okay with it.
Not interested, huh?
No, I you know me. I don't love to play the chalk in baseball, and but like it's not. I don't think it's as maybe chalky as it could be. So I actually do think Kansas City rates as one of the better teams to play tonight. So I'll leave it at that.
All right, so this next game, San Francisco at Colorado, to me is extremely interesting. Because we haven't really talked about any really good hitting options, and then we have this Coors game, and I was just kind of expecting, San Francisco to show up as like big chalk and a big projection, but it's not really working out that way. I mean, like, they look okay, but it's not like they look that great, and their ownership isn't through the roof. So, I have no problem playing them, right? I mean, like, we haven't really talked about any great hitting environments yet. And then, like, I start to look at these pitching matchups, and I start to look at Harrison, I look at Quantrill, and I kind of want to play the pitchers too. It's like,
Yeah.
Both these guys can put up a number, if things go their way. But to me, I think that it's easier to find good pitching options on today's slate. So I don't know if I really need to get too fancy with doing that. So I'm probably not going to end up doing the pitching, and I'll probably end up eating some San Francisco, I suppose.
Yeah, I don't even know if you're eating that much. Like, that's what I don't understand. But I think that realistically, the ownership's going to be higher on both these teams, especially the Giants. I don't get it. Like, I really don't understand the projection saying this, and seems like pretty much across the board, everybody's got the same type of numbers. There is definitely pinch hit risks in some cases for San Francisco, but like, you have plenty of righties in there as well. I think, and I guess that the perception is that maybe they're overpriced because you're not used to seeing Helio Ramos, although he did play in the All-Star game at 5,200. You're not used to seeing Matt Chapman at FK or Soler, but I think that's the most obvious thing to do on the slate is to play the Giants. And I think that's, if these ownerships are close to correct, I think that's legitimate. I like Harrison as a pitcher. I wouldn't mind like Brendan Rodgers, Tovar, Diaz, Doyle. There's a way to get it to a Colorado stack. So yeah, I like the stacks in Colorado because for whatever reason, the ownerships don't love them. So if that's really going to be the case, if I really believe that, I will end up playing that game probably.
So as I promised, like this next set of games was going to provide most of the hitting, and I already mentioned Kansas City, I mentioned San Francisco, and the other two are coming from this next game. So Angels, Oakland, again, these are not like the greatest hitting teams in the world, but they both teams have some pop, and Canning can give up a bunch, and I know Sears. I mean, we have this discussion about Sears a lot. He's usually he's better maybe than people think, but again, in the absence of great hitting, I mean, all these guys are really cheap from the Angels and Oakland, so they're showing up as really good values for me. And if I'm going to want to get up to guys like Cole and all that stuff, you need to save some money somewhere. So I do like the Angels in Oakland. I do think they're going to get owned. But I happen to like both sides of it.
Yeah, if you just tell me that a game in Oakland, I understand it's warmer tonight in the Bay Area than usual, but I think it's very, very strange that Oakland and the Angels on this slate would be higher owned than San Francisco, Colorado.
Right, I think you're right about that.
So if you believe that's going to be the case, I would just play San Francisco, Colorado because I think it's a much better play. But if you don't, which I don't. Then yeah, you enter into this game conversation. You know what I mean? Like, this is definitely a thing to look at. I would just keep reminding people the same thing about Sears, though. Like, I'm not sure why we decided he was terrible. Like, I understand there's numbers, but there's also like there's function of that. It's like when Detroit was the worst team in baseball, and they had 20 game losers on their starting staff. It was with Justin Verlander and Max Scherzer too, as young people. Like, I think Sears is talented. I think he's a good large field play. I think Canning is a good large field play. And I think that if they're going to be, two of the higher owned offenses, no, I probably don't want to do it, but they're so cheap that I think they are going to be like that. Maybe you can play pieces of it like Seth Brown. Brandon Drury has been the worst player like ever, and he's going to be chalky. Like, it just seems weird, but play Lawrence Butler or Taylor Ward or not even Rendon. I would say like play Neto instead of Rendon or something. Like, you know what I mean? Like, just I don't know. I don't love these lineups. I do think that there is some power. There's upside on both, but like I would be looking for pieces more than a stack personally.
Well, the good news is that we know the chat is working because we've just been given the keys to the slate from Power in here. Let's just take a look at it. Mania is a lock. I said, listen, I don't mind the Mania play. We're gonna get to Hunter Brown in a minute. Waka, that's an interesting selection. There are people out there that make a lot of money playing Waka in DFS, and those people are not named Eric Haber, but there are people out there. They do it, and he does put up does put up a good result from time to time. And if you're on it, no one ever plays it. Sears back. We talked about that a little bit already, and then didn't talk about the Mets. But yeah, KC, Oakland, Colorado, Yankees, Detroit's interesting. All right. So let's get on to Boston, LA. Again, I'm gonna call this out just because I just saw it happen. Okay, now Pivetta is coming off of 2 straight 10K performances. I don't think that's ever happened for him, by the way. I'm actually making that up, but it's very hard to do. I want to talk about this Oakland game for a minute because I had Oakland, and Oakland did put up 4 runs, and all of them were in the first 2 innings, and it was I really thought Pivetta was going to get run out of the building. Right, he was I think he used to 50 pitches through like the first 2 innings or something like that, and I swear to you, and I don't know if we talked about this, he threw I think 60 straight sweepers. Like I've never seen anything like it. And he struck out everybody from Oakland. He didn't go for like one fastball, and all the Oakland guys just kept waving at it. It was the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life. And he ended up getting 10 strikeouts. So anyway, now he's going against the Dodgers. Again, I just think that the other options are just too solid. I don't think I need to be messing with this. George Stone, again, I think he's got upside in general, but hey, listen, the Red Sox aren't bad. And again, I don't know why I feel so comfortable with the pitchers I'm playing, but I just don't need to screw around. I don't think. As far as the hitting goes, I'm always down for a little bit of the Dodgers if you want to know the truth. So if I get some Dodgers, that's cool for me. Listen, to your point, Bobby, why do you need to go play like Joe Adele and Brett Rooker? Not that these guys are bad or anything like that, and Pasquantino as chalk. You know what I mean? Like, why do you need to go play Kansas City's and LA and Oakland where you could just go play the freaking Dodgers? You know what I mean? So I definitely like the Dodgers a little bit here at I guess pretty reduced ownership.
Yeah, and just it's going to be a warm summer in LA, so it's going to continue to be, and it's a different baseball stadium, and a lot of projections and things I think try to catch up with it and don't really understand it, especially the power upside. So whether you like the Dodgers or not, I will just say that like if you want to play the cheap Oakland and the cheap A's and the cheap Oakland and the cheap Angels, you can play like a 3-man of like Ohtani, Freddie Freeman, which is going to be a rare combination because of the crossover positions. And like Gavin Lux as a 3-man or James Outman, depending on where the lineup goes. I think it's a really, really good idea to play Dodgers lefties against Pivetta, who struggles with lefties and power and fly balls. Basically, and people who don't tend to chase. We have one in Ohtani, I guess, but he's gotten better at it. So I think the Dodgers make sense as a stack, but I really like to point out the lefties against Pivetta. The Dodgers will play at least 5 of them, and I think all of them are really good options. And yes, there's pinch hit risk with guys like Lux, although Lux they let play against lefties more than most. But I would probably just like be heavily on the lefties for the Dodgers.
Okay.
Nothing for Stone for me.
And then this is the next, and this is the other pretty obvious pitcher. I thought that the big pairing was going to be not Cole and Bassett, but Cole and Hunter Brown, just because he's a righty against Seattle, and every righty against Seattle just gets played, and Hunter Brown has a lot of talent. So I think that is going to be kind of the chalk option. I'm not going to be playing Seattle today. I have no problems playing Seattle against chalky pitchers, but usually when I do that, it's against like kind of like weak pitchers, like it's not against like good pitchers. So
Yeah.
I'm not going to play Seattle here. Hunter Brown certainly is reasonable. Luis Castillo, I mean, 8 and 9. I mean, he's not exactly been great, but dude, he's 8,200. I mean,
he's been pretty good. I mean, I don't care about his record. It's just more.
I mean, no, I'm just looking at his fantasy points too. I mean, last two have been really good, and then a bunch of duds in a row. But yeah, I actually like him today against Houston. So I like Castillo. I don't think he's going to be particularly popular. I think a lot of it's going to go with the Cole Brown or but then who else are people going to play? That's a good question. I guess Bassett's got to get owned a little bit more than we're expecting. Manaea, that's right. So it's going to be Cole Manaea. Ooh, who's going to be more popular, Manaea or Brown? That's a good question, actually.
I think Brown will be more popular.
I think so too.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so that's pretty much all I had. So overall, before I run Sims or anything like that, it looks like Cole, Brown, and Manaea and Bassett are like the top four, right, for me. Then Castillo, I think, is a very legitimate pivot, and then I'm probably done, unless I want to just take a shot with BB. Okay, just again low own, just kind of like a hunch play almost, and then as far as the hitting goes, I mean, you could play the good teams, right? Like I mentioned, like you play the Dodgers, you could play the Yankees, or you could play the bad teams. You could play Oakland, you could play the Angels, or you could play the park teams like San Francisco. I think some combination of those is probably what you're going to end up doing.
Yeah, and I agree. Like I think the pitching for me, not playing many lineups, if I am able to get them in tonight, would be it would start with Cole and Bassett, then it would go Hunter Brown next. And then Manaea.
Yeah.
I have no interest in Luis Castillo. I actually think that there's a really good argument to be made for
Houston.
I don't know if it's a full stack of Houston, but like certainly at least a mini stack. Like they know him, they see him. I mean, Alvarez is, only had 15 at bats, but he's 6 extra base hits, 3-4 home runs, and 15 at bats. I think that it's a good spot to play. Maybe like an Alvarez again, more as a mini stack, and I do like Brown. I do like I like the other pitchers we talked about, but I think that I would just lean on playing if the ownerships hold up and they look similar at 6:30 Eastern. I will play just San Francisco, Colorado, and the Dodgers. The Dodgers is a funny one because I've had more respect for Pivetta than maybe most people have, but I also know how susceptible he is to getting blown up. And this is the kind of team that I don't think is good for him to face in the long run. Maybe tonight he's going to have a great game occasionally against a team like this. He's also going to give up like 3 home runs in 3 innings and, give up 7 runs total. Like that's going to happen a bunch of the time.
So interestingly, let me show you. Let me tell you what my Sims are getting me as far as stacks go, and it's actually kind of intriguing. On FanDuel, the second. I'll do FanDuel first. The second and third most owned stack. I'll get to the top one in a second. Are the Angels in San Francisco? Okay, and we talked about that.
Yeah,
but the highest owned stack I'm getting to is the just aforementioned Houston Astros, actually.
Yeah.
Which is very, very intriguing.
And I just want to point out, like Seattle, like I'm just looking at some numbers and stuff, that this is not like the worst bullpen in the major leagues. It's not the best. It's fine, but it's more just like I don't get why Castillo. If this was real ownership and you're playing the lottery, I would say, yeah, load up on them as a stack. I don't think it's like logical for the 250 or 888. Like that wouldn't be my choice if I had one lineup to play in each or whatever. Even if I had 4 lineups to play in the 250, I wouldn't do that. But I do think I would get many stacks of them. I would get certainly Alvarez, maybe with one of Bregman or Altuve, and then you throw in any of the other lefties. And I think it's interesting.
With respect to DraftKings, the Sims, what I'm getting right now, I'll tell you again, second most owned is once again San Francisco. Then fourth is the Angels. First and third are new candidates. First is a team we talked about, and this is one that I will never play 54% of, which is what they're recommending, and that would be the St. Louis Cardinals. For all the reasons that you mentioned. I mean, like they just always look kind of okay, but they just can't really do much, Right. But I'll play some of them, and then the third most owned one, and this one I kind of like, especially if ownership comes in the way it could. I wouldn't mind taking some Miami shots against Manaea. And I
don't mind that.
Yeah. So I don't mind that one. I actually would rather do that than the Seattles, I think. If I was going to go for like and so to answer my own question, I did not get to all this Tampa after all. I thought I would, but I guess it's a testament to, I guess, how good of a play Cole probably really is. That even though, like you said, he's going to be really chalky, it's just a really kind of a pristine spot, So
and like with all those times where maybe Tampa got to him or whatever, and he gave up. Even those, like he had guys who had good BVP versus him, like Choi when he was there. You know what I mean? Like,
and they got to him. Home runs. Well, and they got to him. They hit 3 home runs, and he still ended up with like 40 fantasy points.
Right, he ends up with 13 strikeouts. He pitches 8 innings. You know what I mean? And he gets 3 solo home runs. Great, I would love that every day.
Meanwhile, I believe that what's his name, McIntyre is going to end up making the cut at the end of the day.
That's awesome for me.
That would be amazing if he did.
What's he at right now?
I think he's 7.
He battled a little bit.
Yeah, he's battling.
Jesus, that felt like the surest, like the easiest one. He was 94% or 96% or whatever when he started today.
Yeah.
Damn. Yeah. But I think this is an interesting slate, and I just want to remind everybody to remember this is like the first game after the All-Star break, so you're probably going to get what you see early in the season, except for you'll get pitchers with extended leashes, but you'll get people playing to win a little bit harder, whatever that means. Probably that's why the totals are a little bit lower. That's why you have better pitchers mostly on the mound. But I have to say, for like all world pitching and everything, I mean, look, if you want to tell me, look, I have to play for my life, I'm playing Garrett Cole. Okay. Simple as that. It's not a real like long thought. And then you decide whether you want to go with Hunter Brown, Chris Bassett, Sean Manaea. That's the normal thing to do tonight. I do think getting to guys like even Sears and especially, who did I mention earlier? The other one, Cabrera, as like long shot plays. Edwin Cabrera, like that's a reasonable other route to go pitching wise. And I think you can get different enough just based on the current ownerships. San Francisco, Colorado, LA sound pretty good to me. And if I had to pick another team, it would probably be like taking shots on the Yankees. But I also think it's a reasonable night to, and I know you don't like this, Sheets, but like you can do some 3-3-2s. You can build the 3-man Dodger lefty stack with the 3-man lefty Houston stack and maybe 2 cheap bats from somewhere, from an Oakland or something. I think it's reasonable tonight, and I don't think you're going to see. Yeah, somebody might go out there and get 10 runs. How they do it is a whole different thing. And it's not like we're having like 10 games with 100-degree temperatures and 9 teams with 5.5 plus totals. That's just not the case tonight. So,
interestingly, Power's making a comment here that I do want to address, only because I think it's an interesting project. He's saying the first game in Colorado is always a bust, and the reason I bring it up is because we have these kind of like ideas of what happens or what has happened, and I'd always be interested to know if it actually did happen. You know, like when people say stuff like XYZ always busts his chalk, or
Yeah.
XYZ, you know, first game in Colorado is always a bust. And it's possible that listen, because remember, it does come from experience and observation. So there's got to be something.
We've done studies. I've been a part of studies on this thing. We did it at Roto Grinders a long time ago, and it stayed fairly true, and less true now than it was then, which is that the first game when Colorado's back home and another team is traveling there is the game that usually busts. That's the most common length you could find. But it was when both of them were coming off road trips going back to Colorado. It wasn't when Colorado was in a long homestand. It was often the other one that was somewhat true was that it was a half run lower based on the Vegas odds when teams play their first game in Colorado.
Yeah.
So if it's the road team's first game. But if you're talking about a division, I haven't looked into like division opponents and stuff. I think it's very different, especially like because they know each other. You know, they know all the bullpen. The first thing you do now, because you play your division so much, is you learn everybody. It's much harder to have the blow up games against your division opponents than it is against other teams. But at the same time, when you're talking about Colorado and a team that awful, they don't really have other options, and San Francisco just plays every game like it's the playoffs. So I don't know. I'm still going with it.
Who does Terrell Hatton look like?
I don't know. I like his demeanor, though.
He's a front runner.
What do you mean? He never front runs. He never wins.
Terrell Hatton, when he starts getting mad, it's not good.
You don't like the guys when they get mad. Some of these guys.
No, I don't.
I think it's a good sign sometimes when people get mad.
I know. It's very
I know.
It's very progressive. You know, and it's really funny because I talked to my good friend Ross. His son is studying to be a sports psychologist. He actually graduated from Barry University with a degree in that. He's trying to get into the business or whatever.
Oh, that's interesting.
And yeah, it's interesting. And you know, he's worked with like some different type of athletes and whatever. And I made the comment that, like, you know, when I watch tennis nowadays, it's like freaking ridiculous. Every time somebody makes a good shot, they pump their fist like they freaking won Wimbledon. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm like, I mean, give me a freaking break. You know, they get all fired up over whatever. And he was telling me, no, that's actually like, it's like theory now. Like that's like really the way you're supposed to.
Yeah, in tennis, they're teaching it as like a way that you need
to keep your adrenaline going and to keep you know whatever you know so.
With tennis, it makes more sense to me, honestly, than anything other than basketball, because it's literally you just playing that other person. You know,
that's true too. I guess that's
everything
true.
That you fire yourself up with, and you know, and that's the difference. I mean, Federer did his commencement address for I don't know what school he was doing. Was it Harvard or something? I don't know.
Something. Yeah.
He was, but he said that you know, look, he's like, in my life, I won 51.6% of the.
Yep, I saw.
I won 51.6% of the points that I had played.
Yep.
But when they really mattered, those are the ones you win, you know?
Yep.
Anyways, interesting. And then shout out to Jonathan Tamayo, driver's seat I.
Yeah, definitely. Shout out to Tamayo. And he took a lot of heat.
Yeah, he owned it right away.
He took a lot of heat, you know, for folding the queens. And you know, he just said, yeah, I folded queens. Go after yourself. You know what I mean? Like, he's like, yeah, I got my reasons. You know what I mean? I feel like making the final table. Sorry. You know,
he's not like a close like friend or anything, but I always like really liked him, and we stayed in touch. And like he was like one of the people who like Sowers, who we talked to, right? Was it Sowers? Yeah.
Yeah.
That were telling me to buy crypto like way before.
Oh, really?
Known. And then they literally were DMing me because I was winning at DFS and like, you gotta do this stuff. And by the way, he's like, I think he's the most profitable hockey DFS tournament player.
Oh, he's a hockey guy?
Yeah, that's what they kept saying during the broadcast, that he was like the most successful hockey tournament player. I've seen him win. He won the million, I think, before in football.
Yeah, he was in that 2+2 league that got me started into DFS. He was in that 2+2 football thing.
Yeah,
that's where I first kind of ran into.
I'll tell you who the most interesting person in the world is, though, is Joe Sirac.
Well,
he's the most interesting person
Well, it's really funny because when somebody told me that Joe Rock was at the, he had a lot of he had a lot of chips.
It was
I
me.
started telling this like long story about how he and I got into it at a final table once, and he sent me an email on Tilt or something like that. But overall, really nice guy. And it turns out that I was thinking of Joe Bach, not Joe Rock.
Oh yeah, Joe Seabach. Yeah, he was the announcer one.
Yeah, but Joe Rock, I mean, obviously I remember him as well. Has
Yeah.
floated from online, and I actually played with him live as well. He was very he was always seemed to be at the table, like live, like internally stoned at the table.
But I don't like, that's the weird thing about him is that I spent days with him in Budapest because we got there early.
Yeah.
We were like the only Americans, for a tournament there. And you just end up playing cash games and talking and stuff. But I mean, he's done a lot of crazy shit and he's done a lot of bizarre things and had crazy instances come up, and he tried to make a lot of stands with certain things he was wearing at the tables and stuff.
Okay.
But he always came across just as like a guy who was going to do sort of things his way,
Yeah, absolutely.
He skateboards to the World Series every day. He was wearing
right?
the final table. Yeah. Like, he didn't wear shoes. He takes his shoes off every time he plays at a table. Like, he just is an odd dude, but he's like, somebody said he was like the current Huckseed or something, just sort of a guy who sort of lives by his own way.
He was. Did you hear about hear about the prop bet with Huckseed and Brandon Adams?
No, what is it?
This was amazing. It happened already. So if you look at Huckseed now, he looks like he's 100. Okay. But
I haven't seen him in a million years.
But he looks like 100, and he looks like 35 pounds overweight, but he's Huckseed, And Brandon posted a thing saying they did a prop bet. They were negotiating it, and they did it. They were going to race a 5K. The two of them were going to race a 5K, and Huckseed had to beat him by like one lap or something like that.
How could Huckseed beat him at all?
What's that?
How could Huckseed beat him at all?
Well, because Huckseed just would never never bet on anything if he wasn't a favorite. That's
right. Okay.
And so and Adams, he bet him and he posted it, and Adams lost. It's like,
really?
Yeah. He said, he's like, I totally did it wrong. I went too fast or whatever it is, and I kind of gave up at the last lap. And you look at the two of them in the look at Brandon Adams' Twitter account. Like, you'll see like he posted. Brandon Adams looks like in completely perfect shape, and Huckseed looks like he's about to freaking die. And and you just knew that Huck was a lock. You know what I mean? You just knew. Like he just wouldn't have bet it otherwise. That's just the bottom line.
Right. It's like when the old guy who's like 65 challenges you to a one-on-one game.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no way you can ever win.
Dude, I remember I got a guy, but I remember I went to a bar in Boston once. I was in college, and with a bunch of guys, and one guy was with some big freaking dude, one of my friends, whatever. His name was Jay, and he was chugging beer, he was doing whatever, and this kid must have been like 5'1" tall, and barely 18 years old, I guess. Goes up, he challenges him to like a chugging contest, like whoever could chug a beer the fastest. And I said, sight unseen, I want to bet on the kid. You know what I mean? Like, it's like ridiculous. Right. And of course, Jay bet him, and of course, the kid had basically like a hole in his throat. It seemed that way, and it's like the thing just went right down there. I'm like, my friend Arkady, I don't think I ever met him, but he all the way back in the day from backhand. He always said, number one rule: never bet someone else's prop.
Right.
Never. Right. It's just the way it is.
Wait. Can I touch on that one real quick before I know you got to go? But like, so Grant and I did this literally. We drove across country together, Grant Neefer. And we had multiple final tables to go to, and we were just like, okay, we'll just make it a road trip. We stopped and visit friends in different states. It was a fun, time. I just got out of a relationship. So but we go through this, and everywhere we go, it was, find, he would tell the bartenders, like, find the guy who can chug beer the fastest, and I'll chug it faster than him, but you guys got to buy us drinks for free. Like, we didn't really need the free drinks. It was just like kind of fun.
He was good at it.
Everywhere. He's the best of anybody I've ever seen. You've never seen anything like this, Sheets. It's one sip and a giant thing he can just gulp.
It's like there's a hole in his throat, right? It just goes right down. Right? Yep,
it just goes. It's there and it's gone. I've never seen anything like it before, and I've never seen anybody come close.
All right, so I got one for you. So this is I got a joke. It's like 5 minutes. Maybe it's not 5 minutes. Right? So this guy from Ireland, okay, he flies into Texas on business, and he walks into one of those Texas bars, and it's like all the guys in the cowboy hats or whatever, and the guy comes in, hey, I'm from Ireland. Here you guys can drink here. And the Texas guy and the bartender's like, wait, you're from Ireland? I hear you guys could drink too. I'll tell you what I'm going to do, Mr. Irish guy. I'll bet you $100 that you can't chug 20 beers. Okay, like one in a row, like 20 beers. And the Irish guy goes, huh? How much? He's like, $100. All right, hold on a minute. I'll be right back. So he disappears for like a half hour. Then he comes back and says, you know what? You're on. I'll do it for $100. I'll chug 20 beers in a row. And of course, the bartender is so psyched. He gets everybody all together. All right, let's root for the guy, whatever it is. So the Irish guy puts 20 beers out there and it goes bang, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all 20 of them right in a row. And everybody's like so pumped and like they cheer him on or whatever. And the bartender's so pumped and he says, oh my God, that's like the greatest 100 I ever spent. That's amazing. He's, oh, no problem. And the bartender says, yeah, but I have a question for you. He's like, what? He's like, well, where did you go for like the half hour before? He's, oh, I just went to the bar next door just to make sure I could do it.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. All right, man. I don't think I'm going to be here for this evening.
Okay.
But good luck to everybody. If I'm able to make it, I'll let you know. But yeah.
All right. I should be live at 6.
All right, buddy. Thanks a lot, man. I'll talk to you later.
Okay, later.
Good luck, guys.